Hey, welcome to Board with Life News for March 8th. Today I'm going to talk about Legacy of Pirates, El Dorado, Photosynthesis, Modern Art, expansions for Ashes and Carcassonne, as well as the Kickstarter for Rising Sun. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. I'm sorry I missed last week. It was unexpected, but I'm back and I have a bunch of news to catch up on, so this is probably going to be a little bit faster than normal on each of the games, but definitely there are always links in the description below for all of these games and all the news, so if you want to get more information about them, if there is more information about them, go ahead and click those links, and yeah, so let's get right into the news. We got word of a new game called Legacy of Pirates. This is going to be a real-time co-op pirate game for 2 to 5 players. In it, you have a kind of 3D board that is a pirate ship, and each of your player tokens is actually a 30-second sand timer, and so you have to move your player token around the pirate ship, assigning it to different tasks, like loading cannons or raising the sails or whatever, and you have to flip it, and then you have to wait that 30 seconds for it to do the thing. So it seems like an interesting real-time game, because oftentimes I can't play real-time games. I really like them, but I get anxiety. It's too much for me. Where this one, there's a lot of anxiety, but then you have to sit there for 30 seconds and think about your next move, so it seems like it won't be quite as frantic as many real-time games are, so that's interesting. It's going to have 10 different scenarios that you can play through. It's going to have that are partially run by an app and stuff, so it sounds like a whole lot of things in a game, which means if they don't pull it off, it's awful, but if they do pull it off, it's often innovative and really interesting. So yeah, it's got a lot going on, but it seems like a pretty unique game, so I'm definitely going to put some eyes on that when it comes out. We got a tiny bit of new information about El Dorado, which is the new game coming out from Reiner Knizia, the very famed designer. A lot of people were theorizing that this might be a return to kind of his heavier games that he was doing quite a while ago. Lately, I mean like the past 10 years, he's mostly been making kind of lighter, smaller games. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be a heavier game, but it does look like it's going to be his take on deck building, which is interesting. I always like seeing kind of these like really, really great designers take a mechanic that I like a lot and a mechanic that's been done a ton and see if they can bring something a little bit new to it or a new twist. So I'll definitely check this one out because, you know, it's Reiner Knizia and deck building, so what can go wrong? Photosynthesis will be coming out from Blue Orange Games. This is a strategy game where you're growing trees, and obviously photosynthesis, you need sunlight to grow your trees, and the sun is, I guess, rotating around the board, and then the shadows from your trees can cast onto other people's trees, and then their trees don't grow as fast. I just said the word trees 3,000 times. It has absolutely gorgeous cover art. Blue Orange Games generally does a really good job with art, but this cover art is so evocative and so cool. It's got tree standees where, you know, like chipboard trees that you're placing around the board, so it looks really good on the table. So it's got a unique theme. I really hope it's a good game because all of these things interest me. If there's one thing you know about me, you know that I love photosynthesis and you know that I love cardboard trees. So, perfect. In more Knizia news, Modern Art, his very classic, one of his most beloved auction games from, 15 years ago probably, is getting a reprint and a new art from Simon Games. So Simon has, as a company, they've done some really interesting stuff where they obviously have the giant Kickstarter, spoiler alert, we'll be talking about one of those in a second, that are for huge minis and stuff, but they've also started publishing a lot of interesting, unique games. They've been reprinting a lot of cool stuff. This is really exciting because Modern Art is an incredibly good, very interesting auction game. I'm not in love with the original art, and for a game that is literally about like art dealing and trading, that's kind of a bummer. I really like the new cover of this, so I hope the other art follows in kind. I've seen a few of the cards, and they're very like pop art style, so that's exciting. So yeah, this is good news. It's a great game. I'm glad that more people are going to be able to play it. I'm glad that it's getting a lovely makeover, so good job, Simon. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn is an LCG and dice game that I quite like that came out a couple years back. It is getting 2 new expansions, and previously the other 4 expansions it's gotten have just been card decks, where these are their first kind of large expansions where they're going to have cards, but they're also going to have new dice for the game. And if you've seen the dice in the game, they're gorgeous. I'm really excited about what this means. They've also done a lovely bit of engineering that's really smart, where the boxes that the expansions come in are going to also double as kind of your deck boxes for when you play the game. Because it's a game that has like resource bits and specific sized dice and cards, you've kind of had to like cobble together how you kind of transport it and play it and stuff. So these boxes are going to be able to keep your cards in a very specific way, your dice, and your lovely bits. So that's really exciting. It's a good game. You should really try it out if you haven't yet. It's really unique. So yeah, and also always the art on that game is just super evocative, and I love what they're doing with like different genders, different races, different classes. And by classes I don't mean social classes, I mean like paladin, fun classes that we don't have to argue about. I don't know who's arguing about classes. Anyways, moving on. Carcassonne is getting its 10th expansion, and it's called Under the Big Top. This is going to include 20 new land tiles, 12 circus tiles, and 8 acrobat tiles. The most exciting thing about this is it looks really silly, but you can now use your meeples as acrobats, where you stack them in like a little pyramid so that it's like a guy on top of 2 other guys. Carcassonne is one of the best games ever made, hands down. It's an absolute classic. I love it. Some of the expansions are incredibly good, and you should definitely play with them. Some of the expansions are really silly and do really silly things. This seems more like one of the silly expansions, but at the same time, I've played this game, if you count digital plays on the app, roughly 37 billion times, so anything new that I can add in is always fun and kind of a silly thing. So I'm glad Carcassonne is still making money, because it's such a good game. The Kickstarter for this week is for Rising Sun, the new Mammoth miniature packed game from Simon Games. It is designed by Eric Lang, who designed virtually everything that came out last year, but most notably in this case, he designed Blood Rage. This came out from Simon 2 years ago. These seem like, Rising Sun seems like a spiritual successor to that, where he's working with the same artist and same person in charge of miniatures, where Rising Sun looks like it's more of like a diplomacy-based game than Blood Rage. I was super shocked with Blood Rage a couple years ago. I had avoided it because I went, it's a miniatures on a board game, I don't care. It actually turned out it was an interesting drafting game, and I really, really, really loved it. So I'm incredibly excited about Rising Sun. I normally don't cover the big-time Kickstarters like this because they don't need me to signal boost them at all, and you probably already know about them. But this one, it's just too good. It's already raised $1.5 million in like 24 hours. The miniatures are so good, and it's a thing... Simon Games, for their Kickstarters, does everything wrong, where there's tons of Kickstarter exclusive stuff, there's tons of stuff that you only get when you back the Kickstarter, and you can kind of get it later if you piece it together or go to conventions, but it's so much fun to be a part of their Kickstarters too, because you are getting so much exclusive stuff. I'm really bummed that I didn't get Blood Rage in the Kickstarter because I missed out on a ton of stuff, which normally keeps me from buying the game later, but I did because it's such a good game. So you're already getting like something like, I don't know, 7 or 8 exclusive miniatures if you back the Kickstarter. So just go back it, throw the $100 at it, and be sad and complain about it, but also really enjoy playing a really awesome game. That's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Bryan Games. My cat is playing with stuff under the door. I apologize for that. Instead of a question this week, I'm actually going to plug my own stuff. Unpub 7 is coming up in Baltimore in 10 days, the weekend of March 18th. And Unpub, if you're unfamiliar, is a convention for unpublished games. It's a convention for designers to come and playtest their games with the public. It's really, really cool. If you're a designer, you pay for a table, and that's great. If you're the public and you just want to play games, it's totally free. You can come, you can play from like, 80 or 100 different designers come. You can play a ton of different games and really help people either see what's new that's coming out before anybody else does, or help the designers kind of like tweak their game and really make it something great. I went last year. I had an absolute blast. It was a super valuable experience. I'm going again this year. I'll be bringing my game Favelas that I'm working on, that I'm really, really proud of. It's a simple tile stacking game where you're stacking tiles on top of each other. I think it's pretty unique. I think it's really elegant. I'm super proud. It's like my proudest design because it's so simple, but also really strategically complex. And Donald and I are hoping to publish it later this year. So definitely, if you're going to be there, drop by, play Favelas. It's really quick. It takes under 30 minutes. And let me know what you think of it so I can make it the best possible. And yeah, it's exciting. And I also like meeting all of you people. So, you people. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.